Joining us from Washington, Chief White House correspondent for Politico, Mike Allen. Mike, you've got some new polling out of your Politico caucus of Iowa and New Hampshire insiders. And one of the questions you asked them is simply, can Donald Trump win? What did they say?
Well, Mika, 60-40, they say he can't win. What they're saying is that a lot of what we're seeing in polls now is what they call whiskey courage. It's easy to say you're for Donald Trump at the moment. These are those people that Bob Costa was talking about, the what's a caucus folks who probably won't in the end run. But what we're also seeing in that number is 40% of insiders, and these are the party officials, elected officials, in both Iowa and New Hampshire, saying it's possible. So he's being taken much more seriously.
Who do they think is going to win, Mike?
Well, in Iowa, people still are thinking that Scott Walker is going to come back. You were just talking about how essential that is to him. And then in New Hampshire, you have this crazy situation where so many candidates depending on New Hampshire. Jeb has to do well. Kasich has to do well. Christie has to do well. Marco, depending on it if he doesn't get South Carolina. So in New Hampshire, there's huge scramble.
Yeah. Bob Costa, let me bring you back in here. It seems to me the shakeout from the first debate was not only that Trump maintained in the Donald Trump debate, but that Scott Walker and Jeb Bush both took a fall. How is Walker's? I mean, I know Jeb's camp loves to say nothing to see here, move along, move along.
And maybe that's the smart thing to do.
So it's like the cop out of The Simpsons. But what about the Walker team? What are you hearing out of them? Do they understand that they did not connect for some reason that first debate with Republican voters?
I think Mike's right. Walker's whole appeal and his strategy is slow and steady wins the race. Keep focusing on Iowa, keep coming back. Their appeal to the evangelicals. But they're a little nervous because they see Carson's rising, Trump's rising, that outsider coalition's big. New Hampshire, the big story in New Hampshire is Kasich. I mean, the way Kasich is rising there as this McCain-type figure doing town halls, it's cutting across the board. It's getting attention in that state.
All right. So the question is, how much does what Mike discovered in terms of whether or not Trump can win should be taken? Because that is, I think ultimately everyone's still wondering where this is going. I don't think we can ask the question.
Well, you know, the thing is, ask that question a month from now. If the numbers are the same,
it goes till it stops going.
It'll be 50-50. If you had asked that question a month ago, Mike, I'm sure it would have been 80-20. He can't. Now it's 60-40. A month from now, I suspect even the insiders, if Trump is still holding, are going to be holding pole position. Are going to say, well, there's a 50-50 shot. You see those numbers move just as you see his approval ratings inside the Republican Party move up.
Yeah, Joe, what we're seeing here is, can Trump convert? Maybe in his mind, in a lot of people's mind, this candidacy was a joke at first, but he's clearly caught on, clearly tapped into something. Now, as we saw with Bob's reporting, on the ground people in Iowa, his campaign manager, his political director, flying around the country, hiring people in early states. They say they're going to start to do policy papers. So will he start to take his candidacy seriously is the next big question.
Who do they think is going to be the first to drop out in Iowa?
Perry.
So this was another question we asked our Politico insiders in the Politico caucus this weekend. There was a clear answer, the same answer, Iowa and New Hampshire, Rick Perry. They say that this week we found out he wasn't paying his staff and just hasn't gotten that second look that he was hoping for. We have another funny piece up on the site today, 199 things, the most Donald Trump things that Donald Trump has ever said. And one of them was about Rick Perry. And he said just last month, he said Rick Perry put on glasses to make himself look smart. People see through the glasses, and that seems to be true of our Politico insiders as well.
And Bob Costa, you said Rick Perry at the same time, so he's just not going to be able to launch.
Everyone on the conservative side of the race is hoping this field gets more narrow, because if it does not, someone like Trump, a political outsider, could survive. And the other thing is, when you look at Rick Perry, Rand Paul, a lot of campaigns I'm talking to, maybe it's the same with Mike, is they're recognizing if you go after Trump, it may not help your poll numbers. You may see your poll numbers plummet. So a lot of people are more resistant now after watching to see what happened with Paul and Perry.
All right.
So in Politico insiders, 94% say Biden got this right, could not win.
No, that's right, Mika. In New Hampshire, 94%
Wow.
of Dems saying no chance for Joe. A similarly discouraging number, 78% in Iowa. And there's two reasons why. Of course, it's late. Secretary Clinton has this incredible organization. But the other point that they made to us is there's no lane for him. He's not going to feel the burn on the left. They're too similar.
Feel the burn. Mike Allen, happy Friday.
We love to feel a burn.
Happy weekend.
All right.
Coming up next, a story that Richard Haas says is the single most interesting story in the world right now.
I'm really shocked he picked Sharon Stone.
Oh, stop
I didn't see
it.
that
You should
comment.
not.
I just